Okay. Greetings and welcome, everyone. It's All You Can Geek Gamecast episode 681. I'm going to be host Jim Gass, joined by Mike Sneedy,
What's up?
Corey Feinside,
Ahoy!
and Tony Kokonakis.
Hey.
Welcome, guys. Welcome, listeners and viewers. We are live, Twitch, Tuesday nights. Please join us on these live broadcasts. This is our Of the Year edition. This is going to be fun. This is Of the Year from 2023. If you do happen to miss this live broadcast, we are over on YouTube for all the content. So go back and see our last year's Of the Years. Go check them out. That channel has got everything over there on YouTube. Subscribe to let you know when we post. And yeah, there we go. Oh, and subscribe anywhere you want to listen to the audio. iTunes, Spotify. If we're not on it, you let me know. We'll get on it. Okay. So here we go. Of the Year, folks. This is the format is spoilers can happen here. Just so you know, just a heads up, folks. If there's a game you haven't finished, it can happen. Sometimes we're waiting to play certain games too, so we try to keep it vague for each other. So, but just in case, we'll see. No, I'm just giving you that disclaimer.
Be
This will be
forewarned. It
this
will
will be-
happen.
So this, for those wondering, this will be our top 3 games. Mike, top 3. And we'll do a surprise and our disappointment for the year. We're always going to kick it off with disappointment. Definitely. That's going to happen right now. So I'm going to kick it off with the most disappointing game. I got to know, Mike, kick us off on the show. Go ahead.
Okay. My most disappointing, which I probably told everyone already about, would be Mortal Kombat 1.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Go on.
And a lot of my list is really based on anticipation going in, and then did it deliver
Yeah,
or
But that's why we
meet
use the
yes.
word disappointing. Yeah. Go on.
And of the 17 new games I played this year, this one fell shortest of what I expected. Mortal Kombat 1, I played through the story. It was fine, and the gameplay itself is pretty good. I'm still not necessarily sold on the cameos being the gimmick this year, but just the invasions mode, which is their replacement for like the crypt and powers, and basically all of the sort of single player focused stuff in the past, is just a grindy, boring mess. The customization is a step down, and everything, including fatalities now, I'm sure you've heard, is just paywalled all of a sudden, and it's just it feels bad. So after I played through the story, I played like online like once or twice, got stomped, and I'm like, I don't feel like I want to try to learn to get better at this game now, because it's just not there's not enough like single player stuff that's incentivizing me to stick around, and there's so many other things to play this year. So that was it, Mortal Kombat 1. Obviously, I was disappointed that this was not an Injustice game to begin with, but once I knew it was coming, I still was, and another game it's not really on my list, so I'll mention Street Fighter 6 did surprise me when, because I did play that. I played that game
Felt like
online
you played that
more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought
I
we
did.
definitely
Well,
talked about it
I
way
played it.
more.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was in a lull in the year a bit. It helped, but I played it way more, and I played it online competitively more, which I'm very surprised about. But it's just Mortal Kombat didn't do enough to keep me single player, which is a pretty big disappointment, because that's where it's supposed to excel. And the story was fine. It was a good like 2 hours, but the rest was just not enough for me to.
Yeah.
It's
going
interesting
when
because
there
I
was so much else to play.
actually just saw a thread because coincidentally Street Fighter 6, Capcom announced they hit the 3 million mark in just a little over half a year, which doesn't sound like a lot, but for like a 2D fighting game, like that's incredible. But in it, people are talking about stats and stuff like that, and just as what you were saying, Mike, with the single player content, Mortal Kombat has always, that's been one of the strengths of that franchise. And I remember we talked about that a long time ago on the podcast. And I see I was like, you know what? There actually are a lot of people that enjoy those modes. But this is the first one where, just according to Steam, right? So things could change with consoles included, but we don't have data for that. But at least according to Steam, Street Fighter 6 is still going on, and they're still meeting their peaks, peak average users and stuff like that, where Mortal Kombat 1 just kind of fell off into a cliff, and it's just been like kind of, in my opinion, a stark difference what we traditionally are used to with that, just Mortal Kombat versus Street Fighter aspect.
I mean, of the people who I see, like I'll go check out the Reddit for Mortal Kombat 1 a little bit, and the community there at least is pissed off at the game in general.
Yeah.
Like they're just all the paid stuff.
Yeah,
and
like
just
$20 for fatality. Like,
yeah, there's character customization, but it's just not as good as the last two games. So it just feels, or the good stuff is paywalled, so
Yeah.
it just doesn't feel great. And so that was my biggest disappointment.
Well deserved disappointment. It sounds.
Yeah, I could go with my disappointment here, and I can be specific, but I don't think you guys will be opposed to my most disappointing. I'm just gonna give it to Microsoft.
Oh Jesus Christ!
Can I just do it? I mean, like Starfield is my most disappointing game for the year. But I would like to you think about Redfall and all those crappy games, and Microsoft really did nothing this year for shit.
I completely forgot I even played Redfall. Like, I did a list of like all the games I played. I didn't even remember to put Redfall down.
Good.
Well, I'm throwing higher. I mean, you can see
Yeah.
if I'm cheesing out, it's totally fine for me to just say Starfield. I'll put Starfield out there because, and that's fine because there's nothing more barren wasteland in my opinion. How do you have a universe with no aliens in Starfield? I don't understand what this game was trying to do. I don't get it. Like, I feel like this game made 10 years ago is great, but now this idea is stale. Yeah. And to the point where, especially when you're leaving Baldur's Gate 3, coming to this world, you're just like,
it's very unfortunate they came out at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, what are you doing here, Microsoft, with this game, or Bethesda even? Like, it's just like, it looked not so good. I thought the combat was kind of I don't know. I played a couple hours of it, and it just never hooked me, and I'm not going back to it. I'm fine never playing it. I'm good. I'm out.
Just to piggyback off of that, so I could talk about a different game from mine.
All right.
Yeah, like it's sad because like I tried to keep tempered expectations until like I think it was the last Direct. They had the Starfield Direct where they showed a bunch of stuff, including the shipbuilding. I was like, uh-oh, guys. I think I'm getting excited for Starfield, and I don't know why.
Yep.
And I should have listened to my gut instinct that just said, don't do this. Because the thing is, like, and I'm not saying it's a bad game, right? Because I haven't played enough of it to be like, this is bad.
I'm saying disappointed.
Right, disappointed, yes. Right? Because I played it for about 2 hours, and I was just like, you know what? I am just not having fun. It's not hooking me. Like, the story was so meh, and like, it just felt too familiar in terms of like, whoa, you're special all of a sudden. Like, it's like, oh my
and like,
God,
you have to go on this mission.
like,
you're like, no, I don't want to go. Yeah, I don't want to go on this mission. Actually, I don't.
Yeah, it's like, can you just give me an option to say no here? Because it doesn't sound like you are. But also, I was just like, everything else I heard from other people, including Mike, Nick, in our Discord channel, stuff like that, and online, and people I've watched stream, I was just like, you know what? I'm good. I can wait for inevitable DLC and do it all like I did with Cyberpunk.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I did. If you look back in my Bethesda play days, it's usually after they release their DLC. Like Fallout 3 for me, I experienced it after the patch where they let you pick your friend to go. After you were able to pick your friend to go save the world. So I played all of it afterwards. So that was like my game of the year that year after I played that. It was that good, Fallout 3. Fallout 4 missed for me, but that's what it is.
So. I will say that Starfield is not in my top 3,
but I'm surprised.
It would be in my top 5 or 6.
You played a lot more.
Get bumped out. I played it more than any other game I played this year.
Really?
Starfield,
no way.
By hours.
I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot to do. I would imagine.
My camera. Hang on, my camera.
Yeah. No, I mean, I liked it enough, but there's obviously, I would say I was slightly disappointed playing it, but I was very high going in. There's a lot of quests. About half of them are good. There's a lot of locations.
It just seems like there was just too much. Yeah, it's nice to see that.
A lot, and the gunplay is a big step up, I think, from previous Fallout games.
I think, and this is probably unfair for this game. I was expecting hopefully to capture that Mass Effect like desire you have.
That's the biggest part where it fell short. The companions in this game are just disappointing altogether.
So,
all right. Altogether.
All right, let's move on. Corey, give me your disappointing.
I'm gonna Starfield. You guys said it all.
Easy
Perfect.
No,
Easy peasy.
I don't need to talk about
No.
disappointing games. So
I
okay.
really wanted to. I really wanted it to make my
It's
top
fine.
three just to counter this because I
Yeah,
liked it.
I mean, the
But
thing is, like, it's all about
it's not quite
expectation,
there.
right? And what you're hoping for. That's what the disappointment comes from.
Mhm.
It's like this
Yeah.
is what you want.
I mean,
You're hoping for, like the Bethesda name,
I mean, that's
and
right.
the track
Churro in
record.
the
It's
chat.
like,
Churro in the chat just said Mass Effect Skyrim. That's pretty much that would be perfect.
Mhm.
That'd
I mean, that's the thing. It's like you're like, all right, you had a game with, like you said, game of the year, Fallout
There's a
3, and then
little
like,
bit
all
of
right,
that in it.
Fallout 4 was a little disappointing, but we're coming back with Starfield, our first foray into the sci-fi element, and I'm a big fan of sci-fi, and so I was really excited to see this, and then just them dropping the ball with everything that they've doing in Microsoft and all that stuff, is just like not, you
Yeah.
know, not what the expectations were, and so disappointment for sure.
All right, Tony. This
Yep. So mine is going to be Final Fantasy 16, which is really.
You made me avoid this game. This is why I didn't.
No,
play it.
I did.
I'm not that I would have played. I don't have a PS5, but
Right.
Who knows? I was close to buying one at one point. But go on.
Yeah. Just for me, when they first announced it, right? Because I picked up Final Fantasy 14 during the pandemic and played that. And it's made, it's produced by the same guy that, saved 16 or 14, and had the writer for one of the best expansions. So, and it was a return to true, fantasy form, medieval fantasy. And I was really excited. I remember that first trailer from, I think, the Sony State of Play from, 2 years ago or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm. No, it looked amazing.
It looked amazing, and I will stand by because that is the early part. That's the demo, the first couple hours, and that part is incredible. It's the peak of the game, though, to me, right? And it's just what I
You're
want
only
out
going downhill from that's
right, and that's the unfortunate thing, right? Because and I've talked about it during the podcast, but ultimately what it comes down to is that the things I expect from a Final Fantasy game, it didn't deliver on, which is having a deep, rewarding combat system. I mean, you only have one weapon, a sword, and literally that's it for 40, 50, 60 hours. If you're going to be a character action game, which is fine, I don't mind that model. I love Bayonetta and Devil May Cry. You can't just have one weapon for that long, right? Because some of the fun in those a lot of the fun is those oh, I got a new weapon, let me try this out. And now you're switching up combos. It's you use one weapon to launch enemies into the air, and then you switch to a weapon and you do aerial, combos and stuff like that. And this one is just one, and I'm just okay, cool, but and again, those Devil May Cry and Bayonetta, those are 10 to 15 hour games. This is a 40-hour RPG, pseudo RPG. So it just overstays its welcome in that aspect. But also the lack of party members, and even the party members or the characters that are supposed to be party members are just weak. Everybody takes a backseat to the main character, and it's disappointing because the main character is good, but he comes at the expense of everyone else. Because it's just Clive, you're so cool. You're awesome. You're the man. And it's just okay, but you could be cool too, right? You have some superpowers too.
What about you, man?
You should be cool too, right? I don't need to be hero worshipped by someone that has superpowers too. So this is really awkward and stuff like that.
They had such a great vibe in 15 with they just didn't stick the landing with 15. Couldn't they just? I liked all the characters in that game.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed that whole thing.
It's almost the opposite here, right? Because even though 15's development was a mess, and a lot of that was because of mismanagement by Square Enix leadership, right? Sure. But it was ambitious. You could tell that just by what they were trying to do. And in this, it's the opposite, where they had all the time in the world, they knew what they wanted to do. It was kind of boring. And I'm not saying it's a bad game, right? It just was disappointing. And hopefully, maybe the first DLC dropped, which is just an extra dungeon. But the second DLC later this spring is supposed to be meaty, and hopefully it brings it around to a more compelling experience that inevitably, once you do get a PS5 or something like that, it'll be a worthwhile endeavor. But
I mean, honestly, I was pretty close to buying a PS5 this year.
This is what made me buy a PS5 this last year.
This was close for me, and then you hated it, and then I was okay, I'm gonna get it now. Spider-Man 2 came out. I'm maybe I'll get that, but I'm I don't know. At that point, I was the big. I was looking forward to Final Fantasy 16 like crazy, and then I don't know. That kind of kills the hype.
I would say it's still worth playing, but not to buy an entirely new system and to buy it at $70. A year or two from now, when you already have the PS5 and it's half price or less than half price, go for it, right? But
All right, Mike, your biggest surprise.
My biggest surprise, actually, there was a few contenders for this because there's a lot of positive surprises for me this
I
year,
My
especially
biggest surprise
as
for
I.
you is that you're playing Baldur's Gate 3. But go on.
Well, yeah, that could be it. And honestly, I'm unfinished with that. That's not in my top three, but when I finish it, maybe it should have been. We'll see. Obviously, I'll talk about it later if that's true, but not on this podcast, unfortunately.
Mm.
My biggest surprise is gonna have to be God of War Ragnarok Valhalla, just because it was literally a surprise. Um, Not expect any sort of DLC from God of War Ragnarok, basically over a year later. And if I want to talk about the best like pure gameplay for me this year, it's probably in this DLC, this roguelike, but also relevant to the story. You're wrapping up a lot of threads from Ragnarok as well, and there's a surprising amount of voice lines in here. And you just get a lot of insight into Kratos and his past. You get a lot of really about his background in Greece here as well, and him sort of coming to terms with how much he sucked in the past.
Mhm.
So it's important story wise, but also the roguelike works. I really love the God of War combat. Like Ragnarok was far and ahead my game of the year that year it came out. None of the games this year stand out quite like that one did this then. But yeah, obviously it's a little DLC. It's pretty beefy though. It took me about 15 hours to get through, and I could do more of it to just get more unlocks. But
I mean,
for
that's pretty
free,
fucking good. That's pretty good for free. 15
for
hours, yeah.
free,
Yeah.
for free, perfect. Basically, Shadow dropped. It came out like a week or two after it was announced, and it's out of nowhere. Yeah, this was a big surprise and a
Yeah, cool.
pleasant one.
Okay.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, my biggest surprise went to Super Mario Wonder. Um, for me, it's like I'm always excited for a Mario game. I'm always like, I hate to say it's like I've been less excited for 2D Mario games recently. A lot of them just been remakes, and I feel like they're fun, but they're more fun with like a group of people. That's when I had my most fun was
Yeah.
like when we got together to play Mario, Tony, and we had fun with 4 player. This game is completely different though. You can have fun playing this game on your own, and that's what I think that was the coolest thing to experience. Um, that I did not expect this year. Like I didn't expect my stepdaughter to make this is her game of the year, by the way. She loved this. I didn't expect her to attach to this game like this, like she did. So we played a lot of it, and it's fantastic game. It, in my opinion, it's no knock on the Mario 2D games. It like rejuvenated though.
No,
It
absolutely, I agree with
rejuvenated.
that. Yeah.
So yeah, I just feel like it's also again like it's the style Nintendo has. I get it. It's not very graphically demanding, but because of that, they're able to do something on this system that's remarkable. Is the best way to say it. Like they can hide that by making their art
It's
style.
art direction over graphical fidelity,
That's what I'm looking for.
right?
Yeah, it is crazy that they can do something with this little handheld system that looks like this, and then you have Tears of the Kingdom. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I think it's
what
really great that they can innovate in that space
that's it.
as well.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
And
Yeah,
that's really what it was, because like you, like I kind of prefer 3D Mario these days, just because it feels like every time
Yeah.
they do 3D Mario, it's like very
It's a new world.
inventive, very innovative, right? Whereas
Yeah.
like 2D Mario kind of got into like that. Okay, it's 2D Mario. You move left to right, and like there's a couple new power ups, but like most of the time it's gonna be like, yeah, I feel like I've done this before, right? Whereas like this one, it's like, and especially when you consider the Wonder stuff, it's just like, what do you want me to do? Like there's this one level, spoiler, where you actually have to play as a Goomba. You have to get like from point A to point B as a Goomba, and you're like, oh, that doesn't sound. It's like, well, first of all, you can't jump. Literally anything you touch will kill you. So it's like, oh man, it's like a pseudo like Metal Gear Solid stealth section where you're like, okay, I gotta like hide behind this bush, and then I gotta wait for this enemy to pass, and this is like, and I would never expect that out of a 2D Mario game. So just
absolutely,
like,
absolutely. The inventiveness of it is unbelievable, and like I said, it's even just the main cast of characters with the new power ups. It was awesome to have that, and very impressed with this game. That I did not. It was like on my radar, but it was like, okay, maybe I'll get it. I even pre-ordered it like because I had the extra $5.
Yeah.
And then I'm really happy I picked it up again because, like I said, my stepdaughter who likes to dabble in some games takes my Switch from me all the time to play this game still. So, but yeah, cool. All right, we're up to Corey. Your surprise?
My biggest surprise is WrestleQuest. It's
Oh, cool.
Oh, nice,
Oh.
nice.
yeah, that kind of came out of nowhere a little bit, and then like it had no right being as fun and silly and quirky as it
Yeah.
was. It's a RPG based on like wrestling, where your toys like trying to be in this like this toy that is like idolizes Macho Man Randy Savage, and like it does like the RPG turn-based combat in a wrestling form really well. And then like the progression's neat, where like you're starting off in singles, and you go into the tag team matches, and you have all these different style matches that you're going through. But like it's in an RPG,
Yeah.
format, and it's just really weird that like actually works, and it's fun and exciting. And then pixel art is very charming, and so I'd say like if we're quick, like I know like Sea of Stars is getting a lot of hype and everything, but I think WrestleQuest did a really good job of bringing that 2D RPG pixel art
Oh yeah, no.
thing to a small
I,
like
I played
yeah.
the demo of it. I loved it, and
hmm
I just haven't gotten around to it. So at some point I will. But yeah.
yeah, no, it's definitely like good, digestible also, because like especially Steam Deck, like
Yep.
with Sea of Stars and stuff. So yeah, definitely surprised because didn't think a RPG pixel art
Yeah.
based on a
On
wrestling
wrestling.
be
Or wrestling.
anywhere good or interesting, but yeah, it works really well.
Oh, I mean that's again. I'm playing Sea of Stars right now, and that is such a cool thing to have the pixel art back, and
Mhm.
and it's I don't know. Sometimes you need it. Like it's perfect,
Yeah.
perfect fit.
Sea of Stars is great. Yeah,
Yeah,
the pixel art in that is really really well done. But
yeah, yeah. All right, Tony, what's your surprise?
My surprise, kind of half cheating here, but I'm just gonna
Mhm.
say Cyberpunk 2077, Phantom Liberty.
I mean, Phantom Liberty, it's
I mean,
fair.
I
Came
can,
out
I
this
can,
year.
I would still say it a Phantom Liberty.
2.0 is a new game.
But 2.0 is a completely new game. But
Listen, I considered it the Phantom Liberty on my list as well.
I mean, I
Uh,
would. I'm gonna write down Phantom Liberty for this
Yeah,
situation.
that's
but
fine.
I completely understand what you're saying. Yeah, go on.
yeah, but even if I were to just judge the Phantom Liberty content, um, it was absolutely incredible. Like right from the get go, it is such a gripping like spy thriller. Like, oh, what happened? And you have a mission against all odds, kind of thing. Like it really feels like something that was like I don't know, end of the '80s or '90s era, where it's like it's you and the president versus the world. Like, oh my god, like you're
It's
outgunned and outmanned.
not all over again.
Yeah, exactly. It's oh my god. It's like, am I a bad enough dude to save the president? Yeah, I think I'm a bad enough dude to save the president. But right from the get go, it just grips you. Has one of the best encounters in the game in the beginning, and one I think I didn't experience because of the choice I made, which Mike alluded to in an older podcast. That was very like a bit, I guess, Terminator or Monster Hunt esque,
Survival
right?
horror-esque.
Survival horror esque, stuff like
right?
that.
Yeah, it's Alien Isolation.
Yeah,
most
Isolation.
like that. Yeah.
But Phantom Liberty is just so good from start to finish. Idris Elba did an equally as fantastic job as Keanu Reeves
Keanu.
with Johnny Silverhand.
I do think his delivery was a little weird in this every
There-
now and then, but
There's
he was
some
fine.
parts, but like overall, I think he did a really good job, and especially my choices towards the end. He did some really good delivery with some of the lines and stuff, in my opinion, anyway. But I just never would have thought years ago I'd be like, damn, this DLC is incredible. Like, even if it's like, hey, I like somebody's like, yeah, I'm not interested in Cyberpunk. I'd be like, but play Phantom Liberty. Like that's it. You don't have to play the main game. Just you could boot up Phantom Liberty and be like, yeah, skip the intro and just go right to Phantom Liberty. And I would be absolutely recommend that. It's just so cool. And the other part of it is just seeing the redemption of the base Cyberpunk game where it was broken, messy, half baked. A lot of the systems just didn't work.
We definitely slammed it.
They absolutely definitely did. And Night City is truly like one of my favorite like gaming worlds, right? Where it's just like,
Yeah.
part of me wants to return to that in the inevitable sequel, but part of me is like, oh, but what would another new city be like, right? So, but either way, I'm in for it.
Well, I'd say two of our surprises on this list are DLC.
Yep.
Yeah,
Well, yeah.
That's a
I mean,
surprise
Phantom
by
Liberty
itself.
by itself was like my seven-ish overall this year. Anyway, so I
Cool.
liked it a lot too.
All right, Mike, give me your number 3. Let's do it. Here we go.
My number 3. Here we go. Edging out Starfield, kicking it out on my top 3 is Like a Dragon Gaiden.
All right.
Interesting.
I had a feeling this was
Yes.
going to be there for you. I don't know why I picked it here. Again, this is
The Yakuza game. Gotta
Yeah.
be on this
Yeah.
list.
Yakuza game, but you know the Yakuza games I like, but they're always like 8.5 for me. But this one is like kind of the perfect one so far. It had, you know, has obviously it's the first game actually that I've gotten that was a new game starring Kiryu, because I've been behind his story like the
Yep.
whole time up until now.
Yeah.
And you know, obviously it's a brawler. It's a short game. It's considered like a half game, although it's really more like 2/3 of a normal. I would say
Well,
maybe half.
Gaiden's a side story, so that's what it means.
Yes.
But yes, doesn't it? Maybe I'm wrong.
I think so. Yes.
That might be
No.
incorrect.
I think it's.
No, I think that's what that means. I looked
Okay.
that
It's
up
like
at
Ninja
some
Gaiden.
point too. Well,
Yes, that's why
Yeah.
it's yeah.
Um,
That's what I thought.
but I like the combat. Obviously, it has an arena mode, which is really great, where you do combat against all these different enemies, but you also were able to recruit teammates based on like either people you buy or find like in the universe, and some of them are old characters from before. It's just you sort of get this sort of feeling of like this is like a, you know, the climax almost of Kiryu's story, maybe more than even what we see in Infinite Wealth coming up. But we get a
Yeah.
lot going on, and it was a good selection of mini games. I liked most of them, and it looked great. So yeah, it was just everything I wanted in a Yakuza game. It's just a little smaller than maybe if it was like a full Yakuza game, maybe this would have been even higher on my list. Because it doesn't really do anything wrong. It's just smaller, but I really liked it. Had no complaints with pretty much anything I did in it. So
Cool.
it gets to number 3 for me.
Cool. I'm looking forward to Like a Dragon this year. So
Yeah.
that's one of my most anticipated, I believe. I gotta get that list done.
Find
Shoot.
out.
We're gonna be coming up.
Mhm.
Yeah. All right. My number 3, Jedi Survivor.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was tough to. Like, I was thinking, like, it was crazy how my list turned out. It's like, talk about a game that took everything from the first game and then they did the right thing and they improved it. Like, they just fixed a lot of the stuff. Oh, this was a complaint? No problem. Oh, too much backtracking? Yeah, there's a little bit in this game, but it's a lot easier to get around and a lot faster to get around in it. So they fixed all of that problem. The only gripe I had with this game, it seems a little bit too quick. Like, this was a little too fast kind of thing. But I think I enjoyed it like crazy. So, go on. Mike? What were you gonna say? Oh, there's a lot.
Well, I
afterwards.
mean, you could have done more side stuff, I'm sure.
I'm talking about main story, not side stuff. Like main
Yeah.
story felt a little quick. But I did say that like I did a lot of the temples, the Jedi like the what do you call them, the puzzles.
Yeah.
I
I think they were temples. Yeah.
Yeah, they were temples. So you get like power ups and stuff from there. I did a lot of the puzzles. There weren't like anything overly complicated, but there were some ones that make you think. But they did it. They improved like just the traversal, the combat, I actually do think the story was better. But again, it was a little shorter. So I just like this game a lot. It was such an improvement of the first game, which is kind of the shape of my list. But it's such an improvement on it, and I was very impressed. I'm very happy because they've got themselves a nice franchise here now, definitively. Because the first game you could call maybe like, oh crap, they hit it, fluke. But they did 2 games in a row that this was really well done. Can't wait to see what they do next for this thing. I'm hoping Star Wars Outlaw, which has nothing to do with this game, is good. But I'm always, when it comes to Star Wars and it's video games, I'm always have reservations about, how good it's going to be. But give Jedi Fallen Order and Survivor excellent games. Really well done. I hope they finish it up great. That's what I'm hoping for. So, what a finale. There's a lot left. So that's what I'm saying. Like, there's a lot left, but I can't wait for it. But so that's it for me. Corey, what's your number 3?
My number 3 is Remnant 2. Remnant
nice.
2 is
They did a lot of good things. Yeah.
yeah, it's really quite good, and it's interesting as it almost feels like a roguelite in a way, because it's like bite-sized chunks that you're doing, and you can kind of just go into these sections, play around in them a little bit, come back to like your main hub area, level up, get new weapons. The weapons are all kind of wonky and crazy. You have some really interesting weapons in the game where you're one like shoots lightning and like chains off the other enemies as a secondary action or move, and so it's very very unique weaponry, which is always fun. And then like you're leveling up, always getting new powers, RPG elements and stuff is always fun. Different classes do different things. There's some classes that are hidden that you gotta unlock, and yeah, like it's a good. I'd say definitely much better like co-op or with other people, just messing around. But I think like the roguelike thing is like kind of bleeding into other stuff. Like we got Ragnarok, but Valhalla's got that roguelike, and Last of Us 2's got a new roguelikes section or mode now. So I like that because it gives you like kind of a complete a feeling that like you're completing something almost, and then just kind of starting over. And I do appreciate that where you can get like a bite-sized chunk of something, and this kind of gives that to you with an ongoing story as well. So yeah,
Cool.
number 3 for me.
All right, Tony, number 3.
Number 3. Yeah, just rethinking it really quick. Gonna go with
Yeah,
he's
Octopath
doing it
Traveler.
live.
Yeah, I was just like, yeah, let me just do it real quick. But Octopath Traveler 2. I mean, in terms of just following up what you guys said with sequels that improved upon the first.
Yeah,
I mean,
there you go. Yeah.
I really liked the first one, but you could tell, there were some half-baked things about it, or just like, hey, this isn't the smoothest, or whatever. And I even remember saying at the time, I was like, I really would love to see this, and this improved for the sequel. And Team Asano, who forefronted this and the whole HD 2D thing, they take their feedback very seriously. Every step of the way, because any major issue I saw, either I experienced myself or just generally online, what people were saying, they addressed it for the sequel, where the characters are more in depth, they talk to each other more, that you have the party banter. It's not just like, hey, after like the first chapter, they kind of just like pretend like they're nobody, whereas like this, like they're still in each other's stories, like they have co-op chapters and stuff like that. So it really adds to the experience where it like feels like you have a fully fledged 8-person party, right? And cast to choose from. But everything else is just so well done, from the graphics to the music. I mean, it's just the battle system too is just that game gave me what I wanted out of like a Final Fantasy 16, right? Where it's like just awesome party, like engaging gameplay, multiple characters that feel meaningful and important, right?
That's what you're getting from Sea of Stars too. Like it's amazing how you can translate that into a pixel art kind of game, and it hits better. I mean, Octopath is pixel art, right? I mean, I guess it's
absolutely.
Well, it's pixel art, but it's
celled though, right?
It is HD.
Yeah,
like it's like
it's the
Stars still looks good.
Yes,
but
Sea of Stars is I gotcha.
It's definitely
but Octopath is designed after but Octopath is designed after it. But it's something about the charm of those characters. I get you. Like that's it, right? I mean, it's the charm of that style characters just hits better.
Right, absolutely. Yeah. And the thing is, like they're very diverse, right? Because you'll have a character like the apothecary, right, where she's an herbalist or whatever, natural medicine and stuff like that. And she has the trope of like she's forgotten her memory, like she has amnesia and stuff like that. And you're like, oh god, I have to play as the healer finally. And then it's like, wait, her weapon's an axe? It's like, okay, and like kind of flips the trope upside down. She like literally just murdered so many people from him. Like, why are you a healer? You hurt more than you heal. Like, damn woman. To like Ochette, who's like this huntress that just like she just wants to kill animals and eat their meat and stuff like that, which ties into gameplay where you weaken these beasts out in the wild and you can make jerky out of them. They give you buffs to the party and stuff like that. To one of my favorites is Particio, who's a merchant, right? And he can haggle with NPCs and buy and sell things to him and stuff like that. And his whole quest is he wants to end poverty in the world, which is just like, okay, bud, that sounds weird, but you do you. And then like his is one of the most well-rounded, put-together stories out of them all. It's just really memorable. The music is great, and honestly, just Team Asano is just doing things that nobody else at Square Enix is doing, and I'm just hoping, it's not too long before we see something new from them too.
Okay, cool. All right, Mike, time for number 2.
Number 2 also could qualify as a big surprise because it's a genre that, I mean, I've tried lots of genres lately that I've traditionally not been into, but this game was on my mind before I even got it, and it's on my mind after having played it. It's Alan Wake 2.
Nice.
Um,
Nice.
Alan Wake 2. So again, I've played
Not a
Control,
game we
a
expect
few
you to
years
play.
back.
Yes, go on.
Right.
Not a game we expect you to play, but go on.
Played Control a few years back, and I remember being struck by how interesting the universe was. I actually read every like piece of paper in that game that I could find, which I never do in games, but I think I read everything.
It
Um,
had a very
and
X
then
Files vibe, though. That's what I loved about that game. It was,
yeah,
yeah.
so I knew it was tied in. I actually played the DLC, the AWE DLC for that the Alan Wake thing. But I never had played Alan Wake. I heard about it in the past. I'm like, all right, maybe I'll play this, even though it's survival horror-y. But it came like I think on the PlayStation Plus thing this summer. So I played the remastered version of that game, and while I didn't love the combat in that game, I did like the story. So I'm like, all right, maybe I'll play Alan Wake 2 this year. But I also knew that they were going full survival horror, so I was a little hesitant. But eventually, I couldn't resist the urge because the world and story was just so compelling to me. So I went ahead, played it, and obviously I streamed it on on this podcast. And it was pretty fun. You can see me play it pretty badly too because I did not do like half of the side stuff. But then I went back and did the side stuff. And then also the final draft came out, which is their new game plus with a few little morsels, very small. I could easily just look it up, but a few little morsels of new story details. And you know what? I'm playing the game again on that, even though it's a survival horror game that I'm not normally into. So that shows just what this game did. And as far as the gameplay, it's better than the first game. You don't get overwhelmed by a million enemies. You might have like two or three at once here. You do have to sort of, you know, have the survival aspect. You don't want to waste ammo, uh, but it's not like hard that way. Especially now that I have upgrades and stuff. But again, it's the story.
Yeah,
Half the
that's
fun of this
epic.
game is talking about it afterwards
Cool.
with other people who have played it, theorizing. But it's just a unique gameplay, and it has like what many people would say is the greatest gaming moment of the year, which was somewhat recreated at the Game Awards. It's quirky and fun, and I'm looking forward to the DLC coming out, and I'm also looking forward to finishing my second final draft playthrough to see what the ending is again. But it's worth playing again.
Okay.
So there's even some mechanics I don't like about the game because I just don't like the genre, but it doesn't matter. Was just a big experience for me that's like lasting half the year, basically.
Nice. No,
Nice.
it's high praise.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And that was a game you were like on the fence, and so that's cool to hear.
I was on the fence because I mean, I also like, yeah, there's
Well,
jump
doesn't like the
scares.
genre. Like, if you don't like a certain genre, it's like
Yeah.
then to
Yeah.
get into
I
it,
mean,
yeah. And then
I got a shout out to one of our viewers here, Churro. Thanks for chiming in. I think he helped you with that decision. Thanks for chiming in on that.
Maybe.
But explaining just to play the game is not that bad. But
Yeah.
cool. All right. My number two in any other universe year, it should be my number one. And in like even writing the list, you're like, it should be number one. We all know what it is. It's just Tears of the Kingdom is such an incredible game. Again, just like Jedi Survivor, talk about somehow the Jedi Survivor was funny because like there were parts to be improved upon in the first game. You knew it. Breath of the Wild was so amazing, so impactful that you thought like, man, how can they improve on this game? And then Tears of the Kingdom does it absolutely 100% successfully and doesn't miss. Like it is unbelievable how amazing that game, considering how much variety you have to play. And I'm sure we'll talk about it later. Just the ways to play it, the way to beat it. I mean, they've done an incredible job making sure that it works. It works great. It looks great. It's huge world, huge world. I just loved everything about this game. I love I mean, probably the most epic finale
Yeah, I was gonna mention
I've
that.
ever played in a game, and any Zelda game or any game. I mean, I just loved it. It gave so much. I just enjoyed this game. Couldn't stop playing it. Um, and the only reason why it lost, obviously, we know what my number one is just
No,
because
it's fair.
the other game hit better, and for all the other notes. And it's so weird for me to say that as a huge Zelda fan.
Yeah,
It's
no,
so
there's
weird to
nothing
say.
wrong with that. I mean,
But
And Game
you're
Awards
number
agreed
one.
with
Yeah,
him.
number
yeah,
one.
Listen,
even when we
I'm
started this podcast, I'm like, do I change it? I'm like, no, I can't do that.
well,
Yeah.
as the resident Zelda hater, I really like this game. It's not my top 3, but I did play through it, and it's the first Zelda game I've really played through.
It's incredible
Because it just
you
does
can play how you
some
want. Again,
some crazy. Like I told you, I just bombed the hell out of the final boss because I'm like, why wouldn't
Why
I do
wouldn't
that?
Yeah.
Fuck your sword fight. I have all these bombs.
yeah.
But no, I was very surprised by just the ingenuity you could use. And again, the one moment for me where I'm like, this is an insane game, was just when one of the puzzles, when the length of the wood that would be the part of the fan in the water would determine how fast it would go. So like, Jesus Christ, how did they figure this out? It's like real life. What the hell?
Yeah. So I remember building a bridge to like infinity to get to this one spot.
Yeah,
and, yeah.
I think I did it across the river. I was like, I got
was
planks.
the
Yep.
first crazy build I think I did was just like some completely impractical giant stick to try to walk across.
Yeah. Great game. That's my number 2. Corey, you're number 2.
My number 2, and I think it's funny because I might have been the biggest like hater on this game of us that played it, but Spider-Man 2 is my number 2 game. And
You probably were, but okay.
yeah, no, that's why I was like, oh, well,
I
Spider-Man
really
2,
think
it's a great, it's
about-
still a great game. It just
about 6 for me, by the way.
Yeah, it's still a great game though, and I think because this is a lot of sequels on this list here. Everybody's got sequels on their list. Alan Wake 2, we have Tears of the Kingdom, we had
that's 13 years in the making.
Jedi Survivor,
Jedi Survivor, and
Octopath 2,
Remnant 2,
Listen,
and every
the
single game has been a sequel.
The 2s are normally the best in most series.
Right.
The first sequel is normally the best.
Yeah.
No, and they do improve on the Spider-Man game. They have been improving on these games. I think it's just like the things that I've been saying is like it's just there wasn't as big of a leap as some of these other sequels we've seen, where it's like Tears of the Kingdom was fixed. Like it's taking everything and making it even better. We're here just like taking everything and if it ain't broke, let's not fix it. Like we're just gonna keep going, and that non-broken thing is a great thing still.
Yeah.
So. And you do get Venom, which is a lot of fun. Venom is great, and I think Kraven's a great villain in this game too. So a lot of fun, a lot of things to enjoy in the game. I just wanted more because of how great Spider-Man was, obviously. So I think Spider-Man was my number 2 when it first came out too. So number 2 for 2.
Interesting. It's interesting because, during the week when I played that game, I was all about it. I wanted to do a spoiler cast. It was, like, just completely on my mind. But, I don't know, as you get removed from that game, it just seems smaller. Like, the further away from it you go,
you know what it is? It's the year.
You just can't remember.
It's the year.
Partially the year, but
there's such good stuff this year. There's such good stuff. Yeah, I mean, that's it. I mean, Alan Wake 2, I mean, I never thought you'd play that one, but again, everybody's raved about that like crazy. It's up against things that were such surprises to be as good as they were. It's no knock on the game, just like what I just dealt with Zelda. It's just it's that year. It's the year has been crazy with how good this stuff. I'm so like next year. I'm like, man, we're not gonna get this. Yeah, this year.
No,
we're not getting the same stuff. Yeah, this is I'm not expecting any of this. So
I expect to go back to many of these games at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I expect to play Cyberpunk finally, so we'll see.
Spider-Man 2, it's just one of those things where I feel like maybe it was a little bit too safe of a sequel, right? Where it's like,
that's what I heard.
like Corey, you're saying, like, it's not broken, so don't fix it. But at the same time, it's like, maybe I don't want you to fix something, but, like, give us something that I didn't know I wanted, right? And part of it, like, that I thought was really cool is they opened up more of New York, right? More of those boroughs and stuff like that. And I was like, ooh, cool. I can't wait to explore them and see what I can do there. And then, like, I'm swinging, gliding through them, and I'm just like,
yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta find the spider bots, I guess? Like, question mark?
The new thing really was supposed to be that you're both Spider-Men, but 90% of the story really only pertains to one of the Spider-Men. Like, I kind of feel like Like Miles has an arc in this, and it's important, but it's also kind of short, and it's almost like he's doesn't need to be there for most of this game.
I guess
At
I
least
could see
story
that.
wise, is how it felt.
Yeah.
For me, I
Alright.
actually disliked Peter's portrayal in this. Not that he's bad,
That's what I've
but
heard.
like
I've heard that. Yeah.
in just like I don't know. I guess decades and
Again,
various.
I did want to go into the story
Yeah.
a little bit when we were doing it because there's stuff to talk about for sure.
Right, there is absolutely stuff to talk about, but I really want them to take a big risk on Spider-Man 3. And again, not to say Spider-Man 2 is bad. I loved every moment I was playing of it.
Yeah.
It's just it's like when all was said and done, I was like, okay, it was good. It was really good.
Yeah.
It just wasn't.
Like I think you said it too, Mike. As soon the further you get away from it, the less like you're like, oh, care about it. It's like, yeah, it's like
Yeah.
with the first one, it really brought Spider-Man
Yeah,
back.
it wowed
It's
wowed
like,
us
yeah,
all. I'm
like,
pretty
wow.
sure it made all of
And
our
just
lists that
swinging
year.
around New York was just like you could just do that for hours.
Mhm.
And
You also theorized about that ending a little bit back then. Like, there's like a post-credit thing here that happens, and I'm just like, oh, who the fuck cares?
Mhm.
Like when,
Well,
when they
yeah,
show
and I
it,
think even Miles had better, in my opinion, emotional roller coasters feelings for me. Where here, I didn't
Miles
really have
Morales,
that like
game, you
emotional
mean?
like tugging of like, oh, okay, I guess Harry, I feel for you, but like at the same time, the May thing was a lot more impactful, and then
Yeah.
Miles, I think the ending there was more impactful, and here, it's just like, yeah, okay. So, but this is still my number 2. So like, this is not,
Yeah.
this is still a great game.
No, like yeah, it's just it makes it feel like it should feel better for us
Mhm.
than I guess it did just
Yeah.
because it's a good game. I don't know, it's hard to describe.
All right. Let's see. Tony, your number 2.
My number 2 was going to be Pikmin 4.
Nice.
Is going to be.
Is going to be. Thank you. I say
I
was
got
because
you.
it's like, well, 2023 is in the past, right? But I guess
Yeah.
it is the correct way to describe it. But yeah, Pikmin 4. I mean,
Nice.
I love the Pikmin series overall because it's such a unique take on the real-time strategy genre, which I loved back in the day. I love Warcraft. I love StarCraft and all its iterations and sequels. And it doesn't even exist these days. It's gone.
Yeah, no.
Right?
I know.
So actually,
Command & Conquer. I love Command & Conquer.
And,
oh my god.
Yeah, and playing through Pikmin 3 a decade ago and Pikmin 4 just this past year just made me realize, it's like, wow, nobody is making games like these at all. And that just like totally made me sad because I was like, wow, this just evaporated from the gaming
No, it's
genre.
game.
Like, it doesn't
I'm
exist.
excited for that
Yeah.
game.
And thankfully we have this, and it's such a unique take because really it's just like, you got to wonder what the creators at Nintendo, they're like, yeah, we're gonna, and for the first time ever, they actually revealed some design documents on the initial Pikmin, which was pseudo, I don't want to say horror, but like the design of the Pikmin, which we all know as like cute little half man, half vegetable things.
Teletubby almost kind of.
Yeah,
style.
looked like fucking something out of like a nightmare from like Tim Burton or something, where you're like, this, like, if I saw that thing look at me in the forest, I would be afraid. Like, I would be scared, right? Because they just have these huge eyes and like weird shapes, and you're just like, okay, that is fucking creeping. But now they're all cute and cuddly and stuff like that. But back to Pikmin itself. I mean, the first 3 games in the series all kind of played the same. And this one, they really flipped the script in terms of like what they wanted you to do, because they give you Wachi, which is the dog, and he gives you an experience where it's like you like in the game they call it Dandori, which is the art of multitasking, basically, where it's like you're gonna send groups of Pikmin over here to do like build a bridge, and you send some Pikmin over here to like clear a rock wall, and you're gonna send some Pikmin to drag a ship part back to the ship, right? And it's managing all these things simultaneously, right? And they're like, okay, well, you're gonna do that, and it's kind of hard with just one captain. So we're gonna give you a dog, and the dog, counts 2 things. Like, he's a mount, so you can use him as faster traversal through the world and stuff like that. And all the Pikmin will ride on him too. So it's not like you have to worry about having 100 Pikmin behind you and getting like lost or randomly, job to like an elemental thing in the world. But also you can swap between the captain and Awachi. So it's like now I can like send Awachi and some Pikmin over here, switch to them, make them do a thing, switch back to the captain, and so now all of a sudden I'm multitasking 2 main characters and 100 Pikmin in various ways, of like 6 different types at this point now, or no, maybe 7. Sorry, it's 6 or 7 at this point because they added some new ones, and it just gets so ridiculous to where I'm just like, wow, okay, and it feels good to just be good at this game, right? Because it's almost like a Tetris effect where like it's a flow state where you're just like, I know the optimal path for this route now. Like there are times where like I'm just like I want to do this day over again because I know I can do it better now. Because a lot of it's just like the first day you're like, oh, I don't know what this level's like. I'm gonna scout it out, and then you're like, okay, I can do this faster. I can do this better and more efficient. Yeah. And that's to me like the crux of the Pikmin gameplay. And one of the best new features was what you can do is rewind, right? Where I like to play deathless Pikmin runs as like a self-imposed challenge because again, you have hundreds and hundreds, thousands of Pikmin by the end of the game, but I like to put this like challenge on myself. I'm like, I'm not going to lose a single one, like not to an enemy, not to environmental hazard. Like if it says 1 at the end of the day, I'm restarting, right? But now it's like, okay, kind of like Fire Emblem, where like, hey, did you make a mistake, like a small minor mistake, and you don't want to repeat 15 minutes of gameplay? We'll let you rewind like 5 minutes, and then you can prevent that mistake. And I'm just like, oh, thank God, because that's like just a quality of life issue. Because in Pikmin,
so you're basically repeating 10 steps because that 11th step,
yes,
you gotta just do the same 10 steps again. But then that 11th step, oh fuck, I missed my step, and so yeah, if you could just go back a couple steps, it makes it a lot more digestible.
Just one of the things I remember in like Pikmin 3, I want to say, like I threw a dude with who I didn't know was holding a bomb at the time. Like I was just like spamming the button, and I threw it into a group of Pikmin, and they're not programmed to respond or anything like that. They don't know what it is, and the bomb just explodes, and like 80 Pikmin die. I'm just like, well, I got to do this whole day over again just because I made a fuck up. But yes, it's just really fun, really charming, and hopefully we don't have to wait another decade for the sequel.
Yeah. Cool. All right, Mike, it's time for number ones.
My number 1 we actually talked about, and I was waffling on this a little bit, but again, I remember being very hyped for this beforehand. I actually played the previous game right up to it, and then I just couldn't wait and just started it, and it met the hype for me, and that was Jedi Survivor.
Nice. Wow.
For me, it's just it's my number 1 game. It's early in the year. I don't think anything quite met my hype, and maybe even exceeded it a little like that this year. Obviously, it's funny because my least favorite game of the year is also a Souls-like that I've played. It was Wolong Fallen Dynasty, which I played, and it was okay for a while, and then I hit a wall, and I'm like, why am I doing this?
Bothering.
But obviously the story is compelling. But the biggest thing, the difference between the first game, which was very good too, was there's just so much more meaningful side content in this. There's optional bosses. You actually can customize your guy other than fucking ponchos this time.
Yeah.
You can make him look cool finally. You can give him a beard, make him look like he's a grown-up finally. Give him a mullet if you want. Find your different colors.
I thought the customization for the droid were not great, but go on. Yeah.
I mean, I didn't bother much with that, but people were making ridiculous looking lightsabers in this game too. I've seen like some people posting online with that, and I'm like, wow, you spent a lot of time doing that. I did that a little bit, but that's not even what I'm about. Like the side missions, there's characters that show up. There's like a home hub base that you don't have. It's just head and shoulders over the first game and having meaningful side content. And yeah, the gameplay is fun. It's challenging, obviously, and there's different difficulties. I played on second highest, which I think is a good sweet spot for this game. So I even like the platforming, which I normally don't like in these like games like this. Platforming shoved in, but they made it more fun in this game. They had some new abilities, and it's one of those games that lets you, you don't lose all your powers that you had at the end of the first game. You have them all. You just build on that going forward. So you really feel stronger, but you're never like overpowered because this is still vaguely a Souls-like as well. The only issues that I would have with this game is it is technically a little rough around the edges. There were some glitches and frame drops, especially in certain areas. And there are a couple types of boss fights that are just broken and stupid. But they're so few and far in between what was just a total package. I know Jim got through the main story very quickly. I did almost every. I think I did every side thing I could do basically in this game. I got 70 hours out of this game. I'm sure
Nice.
spent about 15, but because I really enjoyed it and I just wanted as much as I could, and I'm looking forward to the sequel. But yeah, it just hit with story and gameplay in a way that not anything else really quite matched this year,
Yeah,
for me at
Respawn has
least.
been killing it, and
Mm.
like I'm glad they're doing that. Like I really wish they would get back onto Titanfall,
Titanfall.
but
Oh god, if they announced a Titanfall 3, I would be.
because Titanfall 2, I mean, Titanfall 2 was like, I don't know if that was our game of the year, but I know we all loved Titanfall
I
2. It was like
I think I played it
amazing what they
after
did.
it came out, or after
Or, like,
the
later.
year ended because it was on
Ah.
Super Sale or something. I forget, but it was a dark horse contender
Right.
for sure.
No,
And
it's-
I still think about Titanfall 2. Like I think
Oh,
about that.
definitely.
Game.
Like I've rebought it multiple times.
Yeah, no, I have an Xbox version. I have a PS4 version, and I have it on a PC. Like very few games make me buy multiple copies. So
No, seriously.
it is
And
a
so yeah,
strength
it's
of
interesting
Respawn.
because I mean, I assume like the droid's kind of a character. I didn't play Survivor, but I'm assuming the droid's kind of character. But like with Titanfall 2, they make the Titan like blue. Like, oh my gosh, man, they make
Mhm.
him a character
Yeah,
that you're
BD is a big
really
character. 'Cause,
rooting for.
yeah, BD's a big character. He's always with you, and like you, in the end of the first game, he's like briefly in danger, and you're like, no, but
Yeah.
Mm,
you know,
okay.
mostly he stays out of harm's way in this game, and I don't think they want to do that too much. No, there's a story twist that happens that's pretty obvious in this game, but it's fine. I mean, the story is still very interesting, and
Mm.
Cal
if it is-
Palpatine.
Oh no, please.
yeah,
Cal
I don't see that happening.
Kenobi.
Oh, that makes more sense.
Cal
fun.
Windu? We gotta find the character he's related to, guys. I'm just saying.
Sorry.
Mhm.
All right, my apologies. Family
Okay.
drama here. Kid came out of bed. So,
Yeah.
you all good, Mike? You talked?
Well-
You finished?
Yeah,
Mhm.
it was Survivor. Yep.
Yep. My number one game was Starfield. No, I'm kidding. Baldur's Gate 3. Obviously, Baldur's Gate 3. There's no game that, like, the thing for me is, Mike, you're probably spending more time in the game. You're probably breaking it apart more. Like, I go back to one of the lines Corey always said about Mass Effect 3, where he got the ending he wanted. I think everything I did in this game just fit with how I wanted to play it. Like, it just worked. I'm like, oh yeah, absolutely. Like I didn't, not like I didn't save scrub. Like, you know, save scrub. It happens. Like, you do that sometimes. And there were certain points where I did do that. But like mostly overall, I was like like the villagers in the second act when I had to slaughter them all.
Wait,
I say
the villagers in the second act
What?
yeah,
Who
in
were
the
you
second
slaughtering?
at the church.
at the mystic the light
Yeah,
place.
the lights,
All-
lights, hope, or
yeah,
hope's
I
light.
I
You
was
had
slate.
to
I was
slaughter all of them?
yeah, I had to slaughter all of them. So
How and
I-
why did you
Well,
have to slaughter all of
because I didn't save the woman, so they were attacking me, so I killed them all. And I was like, no, I can't.
them?
I-
That is something actually. When she I saved scummed that because when that didn't go the way I want, I'm like, no, I'm not gonna.
I don't think I mentioned that
have
on this podcast. That's what I'm saying. Like, this is you're getting more extra treat here. I didn't share all of my stories from this game.
Mhm.
That was one of the stories I didn't share because I save scrubbed it and then went back and I saved her. I didn't save her, but I stopped. You know, obviously you get past the checks that you needed to. But I couldn't. For the record, I only allegedly slaughtered an entire town.
Alleged.
I was not involved in that conversation. Like, I just said, you guys should totally kill it. You should not stand for this. I didn't say go kill everybody. I just said you shouldn't stand for this. Then they went and killed everybody. That's how Act
You're
One
talking
went.
back about Emerald
Yeah.
Grove again.
Yeah, what's his name? Haslin.
Haslin.
Has.
Yeah, Haslin. To this day,
Haslin.
he was not a major character for me because all of his people were dead. Hey, it is what it is. But I just
So he
everything.
didn't awkwardly hit on you.
No, he didn't even stay with me after Act 2. He
Oh.
leaves me, so I never have him afterwards. But you know what it was is for me. I didn't expand my group hugely. I had a couple people in my camp, but everybody I had in my group, liked having along, mostly. But my ending that I got was so perfect. I had to roll a natural 20 to to get my ending, and I did it, and it was unbelievable, and it was hilarious. I think I was laughing as much as I could. And Mike, you haven't finished the game, so I don't want to spoil it, but
No, and really, how this wraps up for me, like it really maybe should have been my top three, depending on how it goes, because I am
yeah,
surprised by how much I'm liking it.
yeah. I mean, you can play it differently. I was thinking about spoiling it for what I did, but I'll keep it. Um, because your game is going to play different. You know what I mean? Like you may not even have the same characters with you when you play the finale.
You don't want to
Yeah.
influence it though either.
I don't want to influence you knowing that it could happen this way, but just know that like I didn't fight the boss, so
Yeah,
I mean, yeah.
yeah.
I've scummed some things too. I've saved that town twice actually after dooming it twice.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
but
also yeah. I mean,
and I mean that's part of the game. It's fun.
Yeah, it
how
was
much
great.
you can change.
character hooked up on the mind flayer. It was good game.
Yeah, I mean, I love Baldur's Gate, and you know, I remember even talking about Divinity Original Sin on this podcast years ago about how creative and deep it was, like, because literally you could do the same things where it's like, oh, you throw oil and you can light on fire and there's fire explosion.
The combinations
And
are
all
great.
that stuff, and that's great. It's just, to me, just personally, I'm only speaking from the eye here because I know I am in a minority, but I just hate the D&D system. I just hate it. Like when they're just like roll, and I'm just like, why are you making me roll? Like I get it, but I also don't get it, and it's just
Because
like
the game, because the video game.
yeah,
It's not
exactly. It
D&D.
kills
Yes,
me.
yeah.
It's like if this were like, I accept if I were to play D&D, yes, but it's like I'm playing a video game.
I
Like,
got you.
why are you making me do this? And I have
Like that.
20 charisma,
that-
and then I roll a 1. I'm just like, fuck you. Like, no, I'm sorry. There's no way that would happen in real life. I'm not just be like, her there? Like, it's just
Yeah.
like
The
do.
trap disarm where I'm rolling 4 dice and I have a plus like 4 like
Yeah.
plus 20 and I roll a 1 and I'm like, I'm not, come on man, it was Asterion that was doing it,
Yeah.
disabling my traps, and I'm like, are you kidding
yeah,
me
are
right
you
now?
kidding me? And it's like, oh
Yeah,
my god.
so many pluses. But then when I got the ending that I wanted, like because of the way the dice, natural, because it's a 28 charisma check to get that, and I'm not getting the charisma on this, so I'm like, the only way to roll it is a natural 20.
Yeah.
That's the only way
Only
to get
way,
that ending. So I was like, okay, but because I got that, like all those ones and everything mixed in, forgiven immediately. I'm just like, I got what I wanted. That's the ending. I was laughing all during the ending for me. I really thoroughly enjoyed it, and I can't wait to see what a Baldur's Gate 4 brings us if it ever comes out, which I hope it will. So
Yeah, I mean, it's the one thing I will say. Like, I love this game a lot, and it's unfortunate because like it just missed the top 3. And really, the only thing holding it back was just like there's some days I'm like, I'm not in the mood to get frustrated right now with like these rolls
you can
because
get
like I'm just
so
like
angry. Yeah.
like that the Hope's Light or whatever that pissed me off so much because like
Yeah.
the very
Yeah,
first
that's-
time it's
that's
just
fine.
like the enemy went first, crit her, and cutscene, and it was like, do I need to save scum this? And I looked it up, and people are like, like if you're gonna save scum anything in this game, definitely do that because you lose all these NPCs, all these side quests if you let this happen. I'm like, okay, fine.
That's why I did it. That's
Yeah.
why I did it too.
I
killing-
saved
was
that
killing
town
everything.
twice
Go on.
from saves coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Twice I went back
But-
because I did something else that doomed it that I didn't expect to doom it. So
Yeah.
I
So
fixed
yeah,
that.
no,
But-
it's
What I love about this though is just that how unafraid they are to just locking people out of content in terms of like there are consequences for your actions. And I know we have talked about this on this podcast for the decade we've been doing this, from Mass Effect 3 to like any of the Fallout games, whatever. Like just the fact that like the illusion of choice, right?
absolutely.
All those other games have illusions of choice, and this one maybe a little bit, but like
There, but it's
it's
it
very
hides
few
it
and
so
far
well.
between,
It hides it,
right?
it hides it so well.
And just the fact that like I didn't even know some of the characters were like somebody was like,
Yeah.
Will is this. I was like, wait, who's Will? And I was like, I'm in Act
Never
3.
heard
I don't
of
know
him.
who you're talking about.
Never
They're like,
heard of
you mean him in Act 1,
No.
dude? I was like, okay. And I'm like, how do you recruit him? They're like, oh, he's at the Emerald Grove. I'm like, okay, I was there. They're like, okay, so you talked to him. I was like, okay. And then
Nope.
did you talk to him again? No. Why the
I mean,
fuck would I talk to him again?
I'm gonna guess he got killed with the tieflings. That's what I'm guessing because he was not there for me.
No idea.
I still don't know how everyone's like first companion character is dead for me. It's what's her name?
Lizelle.
Lizelle. That was my first. Yeah, my
I
first.
just-
I don't know how you missed
I-
her, but yeah.
Yeah.
I just fucking missed her, and then, like, I guess a spoiler for if you do this, like
It's fine.
I long rest all the fucking time in this game because I didn't really think there was any downside, but apparently that pushes time forward in a way. So I just found her dead, murdered by her own kind.
She's
as
like the
everyone
first character I
comments.
teamed up with, besides Shadowheart. But she's the
And
second. She's
yeah,
the
I
second
don't
character.
even. I still don't really even know why she was murdered. I never really pursued that.
Well,
I,
there were-
I took her artifact. There's
there
a
were
reason.
two-
I'm starting to see why there might be a reason here as I went from
Yeah.
the end of Act 2 to Act 3. Because there seems to be something with her
There's
race
some
going
conflict,
on,
yes.
but
There's
Yeah.
some conflict.
but
You
I
get
don't.
that when
I
you
have no
find-
idea. I'm like I'm not attached to this race of characters at all. I don't know what they're doing, but I'm sure this would mean more to me if this character wasn't fucking dead for the entire game for me.
It was
But
funny because
whatever.
she's I can probably say this now because she's not even in your party. She's the one that got abducted for me. I'll just keep that.
Oh,
That's what I'll say.
interesting.
So I couldn't use her character for the entire third act for me. But that was an entire third act. But whatever that sequence is in the act, it's
If
just
it-
like
If anything, it saves you from a very difficult choice later on, Mike. Because there was a point where I'm just like, and this is the one aspect that I love of the storytelling that Larian does, where it's like there's character conflicts, right? Because it's not everybody where it's like, oh, main character, you're so awesome, you're so cool, I'm lucky to be around you. It's like, yo, we're gonna do this. If you do this, I'm gonna be fucking mad, and we're gonna have fighting words. And it's like, I'm sorry, and then combat. I'm like, no, why?
Pretty crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't most of them do really like me a lot so far, so it's
No.
interesting. Although
There,
I'm waiting for Starion to get mad at me because I've neglected him. As
There
a
are-
He's very
I
hard.
barely-
there are choices that were a character, even if they're at the max relationship, you do one thing and they're just dislike. You could just see they will remember it. It's
yeah.
okay, sorry, sorry.
Trust has been broken.
Yep.
I think I was friendly with all my characters. Gale, you know what funny is with Gale?
Fuck Gale.
I treat him like
Gale.
Oh,
I know. I treated him
I've
like
saved,
garbage.
I've saved
and he's
scouted
like,
with him because I did tell him to go fuck off, and he just left forever. I'm like,
Oh, he didn't
I
leave for
get-
me. I told him to go.
I
Fuck
told him
off,
to
and he
fuck
didn't
off. I'm like, I'm not giving you shit for you're not explaining why. Fuck you. Fuck off. But and I'm like, I guess I want to see how good this character is, so I brought him back. But
leave. He does
at
some
the time,
damage as a
I'm
wizard,
like-
but
I
He was
mean,
my
he's
AoE
part
guy.
of my main.
yeah,
He's
he was
part of my main.
yeah he was my AoE
party.
guy. So, I mean, for me, Shadowheart was my favorite to have with me, and that was about it. So, everybody else was interchangeable for me. But all right, Corey, you're number one.
Well, you guys know my tastes in video games, so I think
Borderlands?
you can
Is there
probably
a Borderlands
guess
come out this year?
Diablo.
what my number one will be. It's obviously it's a looter slash
Shooter.
not shooter, but it's Diablo 4. I mean,
Wow.
Diablo 4 is my game of the year. It definitely drops off after
but
you complete
the hours were-
most of the stuff. But as
the
far
hours
as
were still
most
there, yeah.
time spent,
Yeah.
I spent the most time in Diablo 4's world, and they did a lot of really good things in the beginning. And I hope they, with this new big expansion they're coming out with, they can kind of bring it back to its, glory days. But they did a lot of really good things. They learned a lot from the launch of Diablo 3 and how they need to approach loot and what makes that loop of grinding something that's fun and successful for players. You need to have them. Obviously, you need people to get things that are fun and exciting to get. You can't just lock it away and have to pay for it. So they did a good job with that. And then having that live multiplayer aspect, massive multiplayer world to it, was genius. Really, you're always constantly having these events that are popping up that you can team up with other players. Definitely, pulls that from Ark. I feel like Lost Ark.
Yeah.
And that really elevates it. It makes it feel like the world's more alive and there's more going on. And then obviously it just drops off. Once you've done most of the stuff, it just drops off. But like I said, hopefully it comes back with a big expansion that makes it worth going into again. And it's just a lot of fun. Like the most fun is just getting that loot, figuring out the best build for your character, and then just like watching your character just do work and just like melt enemies. Like that is just a really good feeling. And yeah, it's just one of those things that obviously I love, just being able to get new loot, upgrade things, and do it, keep doing that over and over again. So
The cycle's always
yeah,
there. It's
no,
so
it's,
good. Yeah.
they did a great job with it. And I'm really hoping this new expansion is gonna be
Regenerate it.
revitalize it, because like the seasons did nothing. The seasons were worthless. There's no reason really to like come back to it. They
But
didn't
you lose
bring,
it. You lose it at the end of the season, right? All the stuff you start over.
well, there's like a battle pass type of thing. You don't lose everything, but like there's a battle pass thing that's a progression stuff that if you don't get to a certain point, obviously you're not gonna keep the stuff.
Got it.
But yeah, there's like cosmetics you're getting. So
Cool. All right.
but yeah, no, Diablo 4, it's a great game still.
Tony, your number one game.
Yeah, no surprise here. You guys know me, just like
Yeah.
Corey said. But Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom just.
You played all these games on Switch? Did you play Octopath on Switch? Or
Yep.
see.
Yep.
There's Switch games of the year right there.
I mean, that one's you could play that on PC or PlayStation. It wasn't exclusive. It was
No,
just
yeah.
it's equivalent to like Steam Deck for you. But Tears of the Kingdom. I mean, what can I say? Like Breath of the Wild was one of the few games as an adult that's really made me feel like a kid again. Just in that terms of exploration and thinking like, hey, what happens if I do this, right? And like what it's like, oh wow, that works. A lot of the time that was what the answer was in Breath of the Wild, and where I feel Tears just kick that up to a whole new level with just everything from the physics to the chemistry combined with the powers, which really makes Breath of the Wild seem like kind of like an alpha almost, right? Where you're just like,
absolutely
Magnesis, like that's cute. Here's Ultra Hand, right? And it's like, oh, like the freeze thing. It's like, oh yeah, that's gimmicky. Like here's Rewind, right? And all those abilities, even though the biggest criticism is like maybe like the game world is too similar, and I could get that, right?
Yeah.
But
absolutely.
with games taking as long as they do these days, I don't necessarily mind that, because again, like if it's a good world and you're doing something inventive with it, like I don't mind going through another trip, especially when
I feel
you
like
change.
if they gave us a whole new map here, this game is not out yet. It's coming out in like 3 years from now.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah.
But they change enough, and just the addition of the Sky Realm and the Underworld.
I hate the Underworld. But go on.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I hate the Underworld too, but it's like, it's just a weird experience where you're like, I remember the first time I went down there, I was like, I don't like this. Like, it is horrifying. Actually, you're just like, I can't see shit. Everything here like does perma damage to me, or like semi perma damage to me. Like, it's just not a good time, and everything like that. But just all the other systems, and what can I say, like the powers. I remember helping one of the Korok guys get to his buddy, right? I had to like fly him over a ravine, get him to his friend, and I fucked up when I was like dislodging him from my like glide machine, and he just starts rolling down this hill, and I'm just like, why, dude? Like, why? Like, and I'm just like, no, hold on. Let me try this, right? And I just went up and I equipped Rewind and just pointed at him and zapped him. And you just start seeing him roll back up the hill in reverse. And I'm just like, I cannot believe that just fucking worked. Like, I cannot believe
It's awesome.
that just worked. And I was just like mind blown. And like the only thing I can say is like from that and like Ultra Hand and to a lesser extent Ascend, like
I like the Ascend.
a game could be made of any one of these individual mechanics, right? Like you could totally see an indie game just being like, yeah, Ultra Hand. Like you can combine any two things in the world, and like that's the whole game, right?
Ascend was like the greatest escape move ever.
It is.
Oh shit!
And
like,
one of the biggest.
It's such a debug mode move, but I love it in this.
I love it too, because it's just like one of the biggest criticism. Talk about an improved sequel, and I know Jim, you and I specifically talked about this. Was in the original game there was nothing like equivalent to like the caves in Tears. Yeah. And caves is one of the deepest systems in this. Like I remember I found this one on the eastern side of the continent that like went through like the whole middle, and I was just like, holy shit, this is deep. And you're like, okay, well I'm gonna use my Ascend here and see where I just pop out of. And I just love because like you get that really small like cutscene where it's loading the world, and you just see Link pop out, and I'm like, oh, this is where I am. That's good to know. Like, just like, you know what? I'm good. And just go, and just like, you just like go down there. And the fact that all this works, and I never experienced a bug. I can't speak for other people, but like no bugs, no crashes, no jank. It just works. And then Jim, like what you were saying,
Well polished, yeah.
well polished. And the other thing was the temples, because the first one, you had the divine beasts, which I get. It was probably the weakest aspect of that. That was the first game.
Yeah.
They improved upon that, and I feel like just getting to the temples was a puzzle in itself. I remember exploring the skies, and it's like, oh, I'm there. I'm shit. Yeah. Like, that was incredible. Just like doing the bouncing and gliding in these like abandoned sky airships thing. Like, I was just like, this is cool. Like, what the hell? Like, and you're just like, you look down, you're like, I'm really high up. Like, I'm really high
the
up.
The ascent to the first one, was it the wind?
The wind temple.
No ascent, no other scaling compared to that clearly, but that ascent was like such an impactful moment for the game to start you out that way, because you're just like, Jesus, how high am I going? Holy crap! It was just unbelievable. So impactful to make that the first really area you would go to naturally. And it's so awesome. That was so good. So,
then I always say, like, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. But the finale for this is probably one of the most perfect ones I can imagine in any game. And just, I love how like they even kind of do a fourth wall breaking thing when you're fighting Ganondorf, right? And you see his health bar, and then it just keeps going. You're like, wait, what? And it just goes to the edge of the screen. You're like, oh, like, okay, Ganon's kind of a badass, I guess, right? And then it's like, kind of like, it's like, I don't really have to fight you. I could fight you with whatever I want. So it's just like, pulling out bomb arrows and throwing, like dual swords, ultra handed together and stuff like that. But and the whole last sequence, which I won't spoil because it is kind of like a reveal. I mean, that was just like, it was ingrained. Like, that's a core memory now. So
absolutely. I have a video of it. I filmed it while I was doing it. It was so good. I really enjoyed that ending. So it was excellent game. Any other year, game of the year. I wish they came out this year.
But I mean, like I was saying about like Pikmin. I mean, Baldur's Gate is the same thing. Like, CRPGs were just kind of on the back burner, right? Whereas like, it's all the safe, like, and again, not trying to knock like Starfield or Fallout or anything about, like, it's just like, hey, we don't want to lock players out of content. We want to make sure that you can experience everything that you want to in the game. And Larry's like, nah, fuck this. You got to make some choices. You got to make some tough choices, buddy.
Yeah. So, cool. All right. Let's see what we got here. Disappointing games. Starfield for me. Starfield for Corey. MK1 for Mike. And Final Fantasy 16 for Tony. Do you guys want to do your number ones here? So number ones were Baldur's Gate 3 for myself. Jedi Survivor for Mike, which I'm shocked about, Mike. I really thought you would. I didn't think it was gonna make your list when you got to Alan Wake 2 up there at the top. I was like, wow. Corey's was Diablo 4, and Tony's was Tears of the Kingdom, and absolutely deserving of that. Great game.
Yeah, all these games are incredible.
Yeah, if I just this year I cannot.
2023 is one of the best years in gaming. Like
we had a good variety. Like, I think that usually we're pretty aligned, like with like gaming stuff too. Like, we'll see multiple times, like, oh, this is on everybody's list. This is on everybody's list. But it was definitely more variety this year.
There is a lot of variety. Jedi Survivor made a duplicate, and Tears of the Kingdom, really. That's it, right? Yeah, that's it. If you look at our movie cast, it was like a lot of duplicates. So, all right, folks. So next week is TV shows of the year. That's a fun one. We'll do a regular game cast, talk about some news that happened this week and next week, obviously. And then anticipated the week after those for both movies and games and shows. We'll be talking about all in one part. Those are like not all in one, but movie cast, game cast traditionally. We're not spreading it out. So hopefully you guys stay tuned for all of that stuff. Once again, on Twitch, Tuesday nights, 8 o'clock. YouTube, all the content's over there. Go subscribe to over there so you get notified. That's going to wrap up this week, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you guys soon. We're out. See ya.